They put me in prison when I was 16, and I was raped the first week I was there by 2 Men at knife point.
From the incarcerated shared their deepest secret?
More from the monster that I had become. And so I started to rob people and I started to hurt people. And for 20 months, I was just a horrible stain in the world. It became a safety net for me to get into trouble, to catch felonies. I felt like that's what my life was worth.
In partnership with Unlikely Collaborators, we've designed perception box questions for communities with shared experiences aimed to broaden self-acceptance and deepen self-understanding. This group of people was all asked, what are you most afraid is true about you? These
Do
are
you know
their
A Vagrant
answers.
Holiday? No. Sounds familiar.
I am ashamed that my criminal life took away so much time from my family life.
Now, if this is your secret and you would like to step forward to share your story, you may do so on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Ever since I turned 18, I've just been in and out of jail, like nonstop. There hasn't been 1 year
Bro, why he look so familiar? Where have I seen him from?
that I haven't got locked up. I spent so much time in jail that
I don't know why
I
he
kind of
look
lost
like an
track
actor,
of
or like
my
I've seen him
family
somewhere.
relations, as far as my dad, my
We're gonna
mom,
watch
my
time after you done
son.
with this?
When
Bet.
my dad suffered a stroke, I realized
it
it was
about?
too late because my dad always wanted to hang out with me. I do tattoos. I did him a couple of tattoos, but he always wanted more, and I'll be like, I'll be always too busy running the streets, or just not making time for him. And he passed away last year, and just yeah, I regret it. Not he was always trying to hang out with me, and like I said, I was so busy trying to impress the wrong people, and I'm just never gonna get that time back.
Damn.
Well, now I'm trying to make amends with my family. Like, I have this time now, and I just wanna make the relationships right instead of like trying to impress other people. Now I'm trying to get my family involved in what I do, and I don't want to make the same
The real
mistakes. So
show,
now
but he
everything
went
I'm
missing
doing,
with the
like
phone?
even though my family might not realize it, but I'm trying, like, and that's all I can do is just keep trying.
If anyone can relate to Mario's secret, you can step forward on 3. 1, 2, 3.
I lost my dad while I was in prison. And my grandfather, he was the person I loved more than anything. He wasn't even my blood. He just took me in and said, I'm going to be there for you. And all he wanted to do was see me before I got out of prison. And he got to see me a few times, but the last time I saw him, he was in the throes of dementia. He barely recognized me. He couldn't remember where he was. And I think all of those years that I lost that I could have spent with him, I could have given back all the love that he gave me.
Yeah, so sorry to hear that.
So I grew up without a father. My father left when I was, 8 months old, 9 months old, and I have 3 sons. I never wanted a kid to grow up like that, seeing me as a father that wasn't there, and now they're both adults, and I wasn't there for
So,
the
bro, almost
first
that, my
13
bro,
years of their
what?
life. One's now a Marine, the
That's not
other's a bricklayer, and they're grown men, and to think that I caused them that type of pain, to not have a father, right? Like, I perpetuated the cycle. And so I just really relate to that. And that shame is hard to deal with, man, right? And it's not about what we've done, it's what we do, right?
People are always like, oh, the scariest thing about prisons, fighting, getting assaulted, getting this, but it's really the time you lose and the people you can lose in that time, because there's not a thing you can do to get it back. So yeah, I understand that big time. I regret it too.
Thank you, guys.
How come the one in the red didn't share nothing? Why ain't the girl in the red share nothing? You're supposed to go up there and share your story and why you relate.
As a kid, I used to commit felonies on purpose as a source of protection from the abuse I faced at home.
Wait, what was the question?
As a source of protection
As a kid, I used to commit felonies on purpose as a source of protection from
the abuse I faced at home.
All right. When I was 5 years old, I started to get molested by my uncle.
Damn.
And over the course of the next 6 years of my life, I was molested by more than 5 men.
That is heavy, bro. No, that is heavy, bro.
So when I was 7 years of my life, I was molested by more than 5 men. So when I was 7, I broke into a church and I got charged with a felony and put on probation. And when I got put on probation, all the men that were molesting me went away. And so when I got off probation, they all came back. And so I went and broke the law again and got put on probation again. So my whole
You
life,
can hear it in his voice.
I continued to go out and break the law. I would purposely go out and catch felonies because this is how I protected myself. My mother didn't care. I didn't have any other family members. And so to protect myself from the abuse, that's what I would do. And I told on my uncle, and his threats came true because he would tell me as a little kid when he was molesting me, if you tell anybody, I'll have to hurt the whole family. And while he didn't hurt the family like he thought, when I told on him, he went to prison and my whole family fell apart. We no longer went to grandma's house. There was no more aunts, no more uncles, no more cousins. Everybody blamed me. It was my fault. And it turned me into this reclusive kid. And it made me a target in school because I had no self-confidence. I was horribly bullied going through school. And by the time I was 15, I had 10, 12 felonies on my record. And so the judge was sick of me and bound me over to adult court. And when I went in at 16, he sent me to prison. And I had never been taken away before. I'd never been locked up. So I didn't know what was coming. And I was just this abused kid from the country. And they put me in prison when I was 16, and I was raped the first week I was there by 2 men at knife point.
Bro, that's so fucked up. While at knife point. That's fucked up. Nah, that's fucked up, bro. At 16, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. You go to prison, you get tried as a fucking adult, and then you get that's fucked up. That's actually fucked up. Nah, that's fucked up, bro. This justice system is so fucked up. At 16, nigga's not even 18. Yeah, too many, like 16. Nigga, that's a little kid. Throwing him in prison? That is literally a little boy. That's an 8th grader barely becoming a freshman. Into prison? With grown men? Bro, that's no. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Nah, bro. That's weird. That's
And
weird.
it turned me into a savage. And I became this very violent human being because that became my source of protection. And I no longer feared physical pain. I no longer feared felonies. I had resolved that I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison. And when I was 21, they opened the doors and sent me back to the world with $75 and 3 condoms. And no parole, no probation, and I didn't know how to protect myself anymore from the monster that I had become. And so I started to rob people and I started to hurt people, and for 20 months, I was just a horrible stain in the world. And I was ultimately convicted of 15 more felonies and sent back to prison for 12 more years. And it became a safety net for me to get into trouble, to catch felonies. I felt like that's what my life was worth. And ultimately spent 18 years. So yeah, that was my secret.
Can I ask where you're at today?
Damn, bro.
In your-
Today, I'm super happy. I was given 5 years in solitary confinement while I was in prison, and I met a Muslim man who changed my life. He became my mentor, taught me about processing emotion, taught me about forgiveness of others and myself, taught me about kindness and compassion and love, and I've dedicated my life to that ever since. I am so whole and healed, and I spend my life helping people do it.
Bro.
What advice would you give to any boy or man going through any similar experiences you went through?
Speak. Tell somebody. Right? Our voice is our healing mechanism. Our voice is what can save us. It's what can stop the abuse. Speak. Say something. Tell anybody that you can. There's a lot of boys going through it. And I just want to, if I could, I'd heal the world, right? And so I hope that my life and my story are somehow help, right? Sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you so much for sharing.
Damn, bro.
And we already know that
that's
it's going to make a huge impact on other people's lives once they hear it too. If you can relate at all to Sonny's secret, you may step forward on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, you may turn around.
Nobody else caught purposeful felonies?
Nobody here can relate, but I'm sure we know that so many people will. So thank you for sharing.
All right, now, let's get this thing going.
Bro, that was deep,
I felt
bro.
abandoned by my family when I went to prison, and I'm afraid they will always see me as a criminal.
Let me put you guys in the mindset. My mother's a neurologist. My father's a psychiatrist. I'm the youngest of 7. All my brothers and sisters are well-to-do, accomplished, affluent people. No addictions, no tattoos, no incarcerations of any kind. All of them are married. Nobody's divorced. Everyone has a few kids. Everyone's life is just very traditional. And I come along, I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest by far. I was bored, man. I was like kind of bored, and I want to have fun. And where are the bad boys and where are the mobsters? And I remember seeing some gangster movies, like Goodfella type of movies, and I was like, I'm gonna be a mob wife. I wear a lot of gold, and I have long nails, and I'm gonna be tan, and have big hair. So that's what I did. When I was a teenager, I went out and I found a guy that was in the Russian mob. And just to fast forward, you know, I ended up getting arrested and getting a 10-year mob. And so that's what I did. When I was a teenager, I went out and I found a guy that was in the Russian mob. And just to fast forward, you know, I ended up getting arrested and getting a 10-year prison sentence. My sisters and brothers took a stance of, you've had several warnings. We've all told you what we saw was very clear, and you didn't listen. So you need to figure this out on your own now. They didn't talk to me my entire 10-year prison sentence. My father did not speak to me at all. My mother was the only person who stood by me. She came to visit me. She's 77, so for her to make that drive and do what she was doing is just unbelievable. It's like an unconditional love. Now, I got out February of 2020, so I've been out a tiny bit over 4 years now. The next year, I was finally invited to the first Thanksgiving and the first Christmas. And I was like, okay, this is good. Like I can, you know, everyone can see, they can see now, like I'm not the same person, I've changed, I've come full circle in like a great way, I'm a great mom. Therefore, you have to know that I'm doing something right. And I was like, they're gonna be happy, they're gonna be proud. They were not proud, they did not accept me. They always treated me in a way that was like, okay, you're doing good now, but when is the other shoe gonna drop? I would say to them now that it's okay. Like I do not need the approval. I do not need the acceptance. I don't need them to be proud anymore. There are things, and I'm not crying because I really don't mean what I'm saying. Like they don't need to be proud, but I'm crying because the things that now are important is that my son is proud. I know it sounds very cliche, but like that he's proud, that he knows that his mom is doing really amazing things in 4 years after being gone for a decade. It's different. I need acceptance and approval from a different group of people. And they can, you know, think whatever they want. Like it's okay. I'm not gonna work hard anymore to prove them wrong. Dang. It's like the whole group.
Yeah, for me, I would say that's exactly the same. Both of my folks were doctors. So you can already imagine, and especially if it's in the paper, they're like, look what you're doing to our name.
Yep.
And it's interesting because I went on to get my master's. I went on to work on big, huge films. I've done a lot more than my younger siblings. But to this day, they still think. I went to try and reconcile some things with my dad back in Africa last month, and it did not go well. And as I was trying, I was choking up. And I'll never forget when he looked at me and said, just tell me, did you kill someone? And I'm like, are you serious? Like, and I had to stop there, and I ended up having that conversation saying, like, you guys still see me as that 16-year-old, yet I've taken care of my little brothers and sister. I'm doing this, what's the problem? And I ended up leaving and hoping that he doesn't pass.
Wait, what'd they say when you said that? I want to know when you said, like, do you still see me as the 16-year-old? What were they like? Yeah, we do.
He shrugged his shoulders, and I just thought, wow.
Oh, man.
And so I think that's one of the worst things to have from your parents is them not believing you've changed when you can show them every inch of proof that you've changed. Yeah.
So I went to prison when I was 16 years old, and my mom came to visit me in the jail and moved out of state that day. And I didn't see her, and that's the only family that I had. So I was on my own. I had no help, no support. I had to go figure it out myself. And my mother had a drug addiction, and she would call me whenever she got into situations with gangsters because her son was a ruthless gangster.
Naturally.
And to this day, that's all she sees me as, is a criminal, a convict, someone that can, and so it really skews your view of family. And if you don't control that mindset, it can bleed off into the rest of your life.
Somebody in prison who was actually serving a life sentence, I'll never forget what she told me. She said, blood makes you related, loyalty makes you family. And I've met the greatest people in prison that are my friends till this day, my mentors. I know we have prison families. I don't know, in like the guys' facilities, I say they really don't do that. But in women's, like I have a prison mom. She's actually still like my mom. She's my mentor, she's my financial advisor. She handles all my legal work, my LLCs, my nonprofit. She is who I call first for everything. The greatest thing I could say is like, it's time to like move on, and it hurts. It hurts. My sister was my best friend. We slept in the bed together. I was scared of the dark. I slept in my sister's bed my whole life, okay, until I was grown. My sister begs me to come over. She's like, can you please come see? And I'm just like, I was begging you when I was in prison to come see me. I was begging you. I wanted to see my niece and nephews. Now they want to see me. You don't even know me. Do you know my favorite color? Do you know anything I'm doing in my life other than what you see on social media? Do you know me? And her answer is always like, I want to get to know you. But you had all that time. So I would just say, like, keep looking forward and just strive for what it is that you want for you and your kid.
I was suicidal when my father died while I was in prison. I'm afraid I'll live with that guilt forever.
Again, I was 19 when I got incarcerated. I was 20 when my dad died. I was only in there for 1 year in the county jail. And so for a week, I couldn't get a hold of my dad. So My dad, I was his only child. Anytime I call, he was answering. Every week I had commissary. Anytime I called him and said, put money here, it was there. He was always there. So for him to not answer, I knew something was wrong. Every time I called home, I'm like, hey, did you talk to my dad? Oh, no, he didn't answer. Or so at that time, I didn't know, but everybody already knew that my dad was dead. It was just that nobody knew how to tell me because they knew that that was going to be it for me. And as soon as I get on the phone, I'm like, just tell me it's not my dad. And my mom was like, he passed away, I'm sorry. I lost it. I fell to the ground and I was screaming. The officers came running down there. Now, I was young, so the officers kind of took me under their wing. So they were really trying to help me, but I was so mad. I was just swinging at them, pushing stuff over. I literally ripped the chaplain's phone out of the wall. I was so mad. I was just mad at life. Like, I have to live with this for the rest of my life. I'm sitting in jail and, like, my one hero, you know, I'm daddy's girl. My one hero is now gone. And I have to fight this fight by myself. So that was it. I was going to kill myself. Nobody knew. I didn't, you know, when you're really suicidal, you don't go tell anybody. You're not like spreading, oh, I'm going to kill myself. It's not a thing. I'd never been suicidal before. I thought it was for like the weak people, weak way out, until it happens to you. That night, an officer who she is actually a really good friend of mine till this day, I'll never forget, there was a girl on the boat bed that's outside of the cells. When population is overcrowded, they put them on the floor in a boat bed. She, before lockdown, she was like, Nicolazzi, step out. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to confinement because I already showed out. I done pushed the trays down. I've been showing out. And they told the girl on the boat bed to move in my room. And she saved my life. Until this day, she's my friend. If she would not have been in that room, I was going to find a way to kill myself. I'm still healing through the process of him not being here because I healed in prison. But when you come home and you're one person, like that was my person, is not here, it's different. When you're in there, you miss everybody the same. Like you miss your kids, you miss your mom, you miss life. You just miss, right? But when you get out here and the reality is they're not here anymore, you reopen that wound. When I do things, I always want to call him. I'll catch myself thinking about it. I haven't been suicidal since then. I realized like I have a purpose and my story is part of my purpose, to help somebody that goes through that. Now I just want to, it's the complete opposite. I just want to live and be everything that he believed I was since a little girl. And that's my goal today. I know he's my angel. I know he sees me. You got me. Like every time I do anything, like they're like, are you nervous? You're going to speak about your story or something might come up. Not at all. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know he's proud of me and that's just my goal now, to make him proud.
Love that for her. Yeah, man, you'll never see me in no cell.
You know, when I lost my dad, I remember I was literally in shackles and jumpsuit because they were taking me from the hole. They took me up there. And I came back and I had a couple of my pictures in the hole and I looked at the pictures. And I think what bothered me the most is I couldn't cry. I was like, I just lost my dad and I can't even feel this. And it took me years to feel it. And all that combined with a lot of other things combined. And I remember the day that I woke up and I just wanted to kill myself. I still had 15 years left on my sentence. There was no way. I just couldn't, I could not take one more thing. And I remember just sitting there and staring at the wall and feeling like, that's it. And I don't know how to describe it. Viktor Frankl has something in one of his books where he talks about it. But I remember feeling so trapped and so small and so lost and there's no way I could do it. And then all of a sudden I felt this just expansive space. And it was the most like amazing, hopeful, miraculous thing in the world. And I started crying. And it wasn't crying because I was sad or because I was hopeless. It was crying because it felt like there was somehow a way to get through this. And 5 years to the day later, I walked out of prison. It was one of those things that I will never forget, and I will never forget that moment, because every time I get lost and every time I feel hopeless, I remember that moment, and I remember that if I had taken my life that day, there's no way in the world I would have received that conditional pardon and walked out 5 years later.
Wow.
I'm glad we didn't do it.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I'm glad I didn't.
I'm glad we didn't do it, guys.
I'm afraid I won't achieve all the things I want to because of all my lost time in prison.
The crazy thing is that I've been out of prison less than 3 years, and I've already accomplished more than I ever thought I would with my life. But the question really is it ever going to be enough? When I was 18 years old, I committed my crimes, and I was sentenced to serve 32 years in a state that didn't have parole. So I was an 18-year-old kid thinking that my life was over and dealing with the shame and the guilt and the harm that I'd caused. I committed a robbery. I committed a shooting. I almost took people's lives. And in that place, I was determined that I was going to make the best of that time, that I was going to work. I got a bachelor's degree. I became a journeyman electrician. I helped start a peer support mental health program. I got articles published. I mentored. I tutored. And it was never enough, because I felt like I was trying to make up for something that I had done that couldn't be made up for. I couldn't figure out a way to move forward. And they told me with an hour and a half's notice that I was getting out of prison. So instead of serving 32 years, I served 19 and was thrust out into the world with no preparation. And didn't know what I was going to do, and was overwhelmed by the most basic things. I had thought, like, oh, I'll go to grad school. Man, I couldn't even hold a conversation in public without breaking down. I didn't know how to deal with crowded spaces. I didn't know how to deal with all the things that were going on. And so I determined that I was going to push harder and push further, and I was going to do more, and it was never enough. You know, I've started a nonprofit since I came out, and it doesn't matter how many people we help or what we do, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I feel like there are people that I left behind that worked just as hard as I did that haven't gotten that chance. And that until that changes, until I somehow change the world, it's not going to be enough. What I really wanted was to find a family. Like, that's what I wanted. And I thought a big part of that was that I was gonna find a relationship, and I was gonna have kids. And then I got out, and I was in a relationship when I got out. I had met somebody through weird happenstance, and incredible person, incredible woman. And yet somehow it wasn't enough. And it wasn't that she wasn't enough, it's that I couldn't find enough in myself. It's gotten to the point where I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. I feel like I never really got to form those things. And so now I'm, almost 40 years old out in the world trying to figure out what I want to do. And somehow my biggest fear is that no matter what I do, what I accomplish, where I go, who I find, that it's never going to be enough. And I won't know how to move forward. And I won't know when to stop.
What would it take to fully forgive yourself for your mistakes?
In a lot of ways, I feel like I did. I feel like there was a day that I woke up in prison that I remember the shift really distinctly, because I had had so much shame behind the things that I'd done. And it was a day that I woke up, and I don't even know, it was part of a conversation, but it hit me that I really no longer was that same person. Hey, man. That whatever had happened, whatever I had done, all the work that I'd done, all the therapy, all the reading, I was no longer that same person. I would not do those things that I'd done. And it really hit me. It wasn't just thinking that or saying that. Like, I really felt it at my core. So I feel like it's not so much making up for the things that I did. It's not making up directly for the harm that I've done. And that is something that I do hope to make up for, make amends for the rest of my life. But it feels like the thing that I'm trying to address is actually deeper. And it's not just what I've done, it's somehow something that felt like it was lacking.
At the end of the day. Am I yapping?
I feel like people with trauma, or people that have been through a lot in life, especially incarceration, you come out and you want to achieve so much in such a short amount of time that you don't really, I don't know, for me at least, I don't live in the present time. Like, I'll go out with my friends and I'm answering emails and doing things on my phone, and they're telling me just enjoy the time you have right now. And I feel like, no, there's no time to relax. And I feel like I'm constantly chasing to be better or to do more in life. So I can relate to that in that effect for me.
For me, that's exactly what I constantly go through. I had great dreams and goals for myself. And I remember telling myself the major goal I would have would be, I'm gonna get my name in film credits and I'm good. And it happened, 20 films, but then I was totally unsatisfied. It just all of a sudden it was like, wow, I did something that most people can't do, but I have to keep going. And so I would keep going. I went to the next job, next career level, kept getting hired. This is the title I want. I get all those, but to this day, I still don't feel I'm the person that I should be. And I have some certain people be like, what are you talking about, dude? You're like, you're doing it. You got all this stuff going, but what's wrong? It's like, I just don't think I'm there. And like you were saying with relationships, something about that is you feel like you can't, you want to put your all into it, but you feel like you have to get this right so other people can feel right about you. And so it kind of gets into your head because you feel like even though as much as you're doing, it's not enough. And the question I have in my head is like, well, when will I feel like it's enough? And I do want that day that I wake up and say, okay, I've done it, but I don't know when that's gonna come.
And I don't know if y'all feel like you lived on the sidelines for all those years. Like, I don't want to watch sports. I don't want to watch TV. I want to go play sports.
I don't watch TV either. Yeah, same.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch anything.
Yeah.
I want to do everything.
You want to go do.
And so I'm happily married. I have an amazing wife, and I got lucky in that department. But it's so stressful on her because she's a type A, and everything that I do, she feels like she's got to be my hero. She's got to come in to make sure that I don't
should move to
fail.
Portugal?
Because she knows failure for me is catastrophic. If I fail, I fall apart.
You got more to gain than to lose in life.
I can't fail at anything. If I say I'm going to be somewhere at 5 o'clock and I show up at 5:01, my whole day's gone. I was here an hour and a half early in the parking lot, right? Like texting people like, hey. And it's hard on the people around us.
And every time an event or a person or a date or something comes up, I think in my mind, I'm like, when I was locked up, there's no way in the world I would have said no to that. And it's so hard for me to say no to anything. Like literally, I don't want to go to this event. I don't want to go on this date. I don't want to do ever, but I'm like, man, I gotta do it. I say yes to everything.
And then you find you're like swamped. It's like,
overwhelmed.
Oh my God, I got 10,000
no?
things.
How do you do it?
I don't. I don't.
Keep going.
My wife says no.
Okay.
Yes. You need somebody.
I call my
no
wife,
for you.
babe, can I do this? Nope. All right. Can't do it. I'm sorry. and it's on the other side of it, it makes you feel like less than, right? Because you almost feel like you're not.
Feel bad. You feel bad if you say no.
You're so used to having a controlled environment that when you're free to do what you want to do, you just run. And it's like, I need some kind of control. And it's shameful to admit that, right? But it's like, I need to be controlled, because if you just leave me alone, I'm just going to do a million things.
Exactly.
It will get better. It will get better.
It does.
Life will slow down for you eventually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just know that you're already an inspiration, because you inspired me months ago and you didn't even know it, right?
Oh.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the hope is the part, the reason I teared up when you told your secret. There's a kid in the juvenile center we go into every month who told me that same thing. He said, I keep getting locked up because this is the place I'm safest in the world. And those are the kids where I want them to know and see that there's a future. So that's why I really want him to see your story. I'm actually going to see if I can get them to let me bring a phone in to show them that, because letting people know, people who are locked up right now, who don't believe they deserve it, who don't believe there's any path, don't believe there's anything they can do, when they see a room full of people who've gone through that and then made something of their life, that's the most meaningful thing. That's what we can give them. Our stories can give them hope.
Right.
All right. Amazing. All right. I just want to point out a couple things. What was he here for? What was he here for? What the fuck was she here for? This black girl. She didn't say a fucking word.